What's up, Irish fans? Anthony Romo here with the head ball coach of the Ursuline Fighting Irish, Dan Reardon, here for our Week 3 Coaches Corner, brought to you by the Golden Dawn. We have some big news to share. First things first, after this week, starting next week, we will have Coaches Corners and player profiles live from the Golden Dawn. Steve Leslie and I will be heading those, and hopefully we can have a couple nice weeks here of a stretch of the Irish keep on winning some games as they have so far. 2-0 start to the year after a 51-6 win over Padua Franciscan coaches to jump right into things. You guys had 3 interceptions in the first quarter. And when we were talking about Padua last week, looking into that game, you were saying how they have a strong quarterback. That's something you guys were looking forward to in practice. I mean, seeing numbers like that in the first quarter, does that make you happy that your game plan was being executed?
Yeah, I thought our kids did a really good job. First of all, getting some pressure on him, and then secondly, obviously, we were able to come up with those picks. We ended up with 4 on the night, and anytime you can do that, you're going to be pleased with the defense. He did make some really good throws throughout the game, but we were able to be opportunistic and steal some possessions that way.
So not only was it working out on the defensive end, it was also working out on the offensive end as well. You guys were up 35-6 at half, coming off a game where you guys were up 38-7 at the half against a very good Brookfield team. Just what has been the biggest key so far, do you think, for you guys to be able to jump out early and attack on these teams in the first half?
So I think we've been, first of all, we've been efficient on offense. Defensively, in 2 weeks we've given up a score in the first half of both games. But outside of last week, outside of giving up one big play in the first half, I thought we played really well defensively on that side of the ball. The first week, Brookfield they put a couple drives together. One ended up in a turnover, and the other one ended up in a score. But I mean, really outside of those 3 drives, I feel like we've been playing really good defense thus far. So, hopefully we can keep that going this week. We play a really talented Pharaoh team, really, really deep at the skill positions, big up front. But they have several playmakers that every time they touch the ball, everybody's holding their breath because they have the ability to take it all the way.
Yeah, and then before we hop into that Pharaoh game, which is going to be a very good game. I mean, got to say both ways, just looking out on paper, teams that play the same way. Christian Lynch last week, 226 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. Jack Erickson, 182 yards through the air on 16 of 21, so a very efficient night for him, like you were saying. Just how impressed have you been with your line so far in these first 2 weeks? I mean, they're creating gaps in the run game, and they're holding on in the passing game to give Erickson some time to make these throws.
Yeah, I think they played very, very well. Going into the season, we knew that was going to be a strong point of our football team, and that's how they played so far. After 2 weeks, so it's a good year to be a running back for Ursuline High School because there is a very, very experienced offensive line, and that said, Christian has done. Very, very well in 2 weeks. He was right around 100 yards in week 1 and over 200 yards in week 2. And, he's taken advantage of it when the offensive line does their thing. And, he's had some big plays, some big runs, and he had 4 touchdowns last week. And, really, really fantastic effort by him and our offensive line.
We're now looking forward to this week, facing off against a very tough Pharaoh Steelers team. First game on their new turf. Unfortunately, game got moved to Saturday from Friday due to a little bit of a referee shortage in the state of Pennsylvania. Coach, is it frustrating in any way for you to have kind of another unorthodox week of prep, because you guys started the year on a Thursday, then you played on Friday last week, and now you're on a Saturday? The weeks just keep getting longer.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect things too much this week. We actually, with an extra day of practice, we shortened practice slightly each day. We still had a net gain of overall practice time, but trying to keep our legs fresh and all those things. But where it makes the difference is next week, and because all of a sudden we're going to have a shorter week of preparation against another very good opponent.
Yeah, that fifth game next week is definitely going to be a game that a lot of eyes are going to be looking towards here in the Valley. Now, To break down Farrell, first offensively for them, their quarterback, Cabron Smith, 13 of 17 last week for 250 yards through the air in their big 50-20 win. Season opening victory over Northeast as last week was the first week of the year for Pennsylvania. Just looking at film of him this week, he has a lot of good wideouts as well, like you guys do. Just what impresses you about this Farrell offense?
Yeah, again, just playmakers at every skill position, and they do a good job moving guys around, and we've seen different guys in different positions. In the scrimmages, move from receiver to running back, and things like that, trying to get their guys touches in a variety of ways. And I think they do a really good job there. The quarterback, really good athlete, strong arm, and again, just dangerous weapons to throw the ball to and hand the ball to.
Now to look at the Pharaoh defense. Just like you guys, they have a lot of guys that love to fly to the ball. A lot of those guys on offense that are playing defense, they're just all over the place. They forced 3 turnovers last week against Northeast. Now, as a head coach of a team, when you're preparing for a team that is just filled with athletes and they're all over the field flying to the ball, does that change your preparation during practice at all? Like, are there any different ways that you can prepare for a team that has athletes like that?
Well, I think it's hard to simulate their athleticism. When our first team offense is practicing, it's hard to put a defense up against our first team offense. It's that has the speed of what Farrell has, and quite frankly, we can't do it in practice. So, we do the best we can, on that end. But the thing that jumps out on film, and I had a chance to see it in person in their first scrimmage. They really fly to the football. They like to hit. You heard a lot of, pads popping and oohs and ahs from the crowd because there were some big hits, and you could tell that they feed off of that.
Now, this was a little bit of a border battle, obviously, Northeast Ohio against Western PA. Just how cool of a matchup is it for you as a coach to kind of head over to PA and kind of represent Ohio?
Yeah, I think it's, that's something. Excuse me. That's something that we spoke to our kids about. Every week we're playing for our team, playing for our school, our community, and our city, and all those things. And when you have a chance to play someone from another state, it's bigger than just playing for your normal fans and school community. So that's something that I really enjoy doing as a coach. And we're going up against a really good opponent, and so there are some bragging rights on the line. Even though it's not a very familiar opponent for us, it's not the first time that Farrell has played Ursuline, but it doesn't happen very often. Even though it's not the first time, we do know what they're about. We they're in our media coverage area, and our kids hear about things they're doing, and they're a very proud and successful football program, just like we are. So I think that there's a lot of storylines, from that standpoint. Bragging rights on the line. That they're opening up a new turf in their stadium, and so it makes it a little bit more of a focal point from that standpoint. It's a Saturday night game, so I'm sure it's going to be a big crowd. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I must add, you guys did get the upper end last time in 2014 at Stambaugh Stadium. Now you're heading over to their place. But we were talking about this last week during our interview that you were saying that your team really has a lot more experience than a lot of teams here in the Valley going to the state championship game last year. Well, this Farrell program, as you said, very successful program. State semifinalists last year. They won back-to-back state championships in 2018 and 2019. Yep. They kind of have it the same way you guys do. And do you think that that'll really make it a 4-quarter game with both schools, with guys that know how to play in big games in front of big crowds, and no situation's really too big for them?
Yeah, I don't think either team is going to be overwhelmed by the atmosphere, because I think both teams are used to that. And, again, we're expecting a big crowd. I know that there's a lot of interest on their side of things and on our side of things. So it's going to be a great crowd. But, both teams have played in big games and have been successful in big games. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch and also to be a part of.
I thought this was an interesting stat. So Farrell, they haven't allowed a single point in the first quarter in their last 9 regular season games dating back to 2020. You guys have scored 49 first quarter points in our first 2 weeks here this season. Does that excite you guys at all to try to go out and prove a point and get on the board early like you have in those first 2 weeks this season?
Well, I wasn't aware of that stat. Thanks for sharing that with me. But that is something we will definitely talk about in our team meeting tomorrow.
So, Coach, thank you for joining us here tonight, taking time out of your very busy week. I'm looking forward to Saturday night battle over in Western PA with the Pharaoh Steelers. This was our Week 3 Coaches Corner interview brought to you by the Golden Dawn. Thank you, Coach, and good luck this week.
Sounds great. Thanks.